2. Select the most accurate word to describe the way in which both texts portray highwaymen. We're looking then for the most accurate word, which means we should choose one word from the list of 5 shown. So let's look at the description of the highwayman in text A. Option A says realistic. In fact, there is a lot of myth surrounding the highwayman. Consider this paragraph. No one has ever seen his face, though his figure on the moor is familiar to many. He is always dressed in the latest fashion, hence the villagers have called him Beau Brocade. Some say he is a royal prince in disguise. He always wears a mask. Some say he is the pretender, Charles Stuart himself. Others declare his face is pitted with smallpox. Others that he has the face of a pig and the ears of a mule, that he is covered with hairs like a spaniel or has blue skin like an ape. But no one knows, and with half the villagers on the heath to aid and abet him, he is not likely to be laid by the heels. So we cannot say that this description of the highwayman is realistic. There is a fantastical element to what people think the highwayman might actually look like. Although the two men discussing the highwayman are clearly not impressed by his behaviour, this is not a derogatory description. Derogatory means one which is very negative, so not exactly praising that character. And yet, in this paragraph in particular, we're told that he could even be a royal prince. That's certainly not a derogatory phrase. We might say, though, that this is a romanticised description of the highwayman. That's because a lot of this is summation. People are trying to guess who he is and what his motivation might be. So he could be anything from a royal prince all the way through to Charles Stuart, the king pretender. There are lots of myths and legends springing up around this person, and that means that there is a very romanticised description of him. Consider particularly the fact that he robs from the rich and gives to the poor. This endears him in the eyes of the ordinary man and woman. This idea that an unknown stranger on horseback rides around the countryside at night, robbing the rich people who can afford it and giving it to the poor who really need the money. There is nothing menacing or authentic about this description. Menacing means that undertone, something sinister and threatening. But this is not considered an authentic description either. In actual fact, the highwayman is just an ordinary person doing something quite extraordinary. So an authentic description would give us more detail about who that ordinary person was, not romanticise him in the way we see here. Let's now consider those words with text B. Again, in the same way that we saw in text A, this is a romanticised description of the highwayman. Consider this paragraph in particular, with his French cocked hat, a bunch of lace at his chin, a coat of claret velvet and breeches of brown doeskin. The idea of him riding with a jewelled twinkle, and his pistol butts a twinkle, and his rapier hilt a twinkle as well, under that jewelled sky. It's a very romanticised version of what actually is the case. Remember, this person rides through the country robbing people. So he uses threatening menaces in order to extract money from rich people in order to give it to poor people. Although in this version there is no inference that that is the case. He simply says that he expects to have some yellow gold before the morning light. But the landlord's black-eyed daughter is clearly enraptured by him, and this makes Tim the ostler quite jealous. The use of language here gives a romanticised version of this character. It's certainly not realistic or authentic. Although he might use menaces to gain the money, this is not a menacing description, nor is it derogatory. The best choice of answer to this question was option C. Both of the descriptions offer a romanticised version of the highwayman. And for the 1 mark available, you should show the answer of C on the answer paper like this.